People don't try to steal things from you that aren't valuable. They're not coming after your garbage. They're coming after your treasure. And our history is our treasure. The goal of the anti-woke movement is frankly to dismantle all of the human rights advances that occurred over the last 70 years or so. It's to not only take us back to 1960, 1950, but frankly, before that, to the period where there was no significant effort to create a real functioning multiracial democracy where hierarchy was seen as natural, where Black people had a place, immigrants had a place, women had a place, and it didn't challenge or contest in any way the distribution of authority, of privilege, of material wealth. It's an effort to weaponize resentment, weaponize anxiety, weaponize a sense of loss in order to turn those sentiments into concrete policy and legal imperatives. And I would say most importantly, it is an effort to distract people while this massive theft of resources, of power, of our democracy itself takes place. The effort to erase memory is probably the most fundamental tactic in the anti-woke book. It is why they are trying to ban books. It's why they're trying to attack the Smithsonian. We call it lovingly the Blacksonian. There are artifacts of the real history that we have lived that are undeniable indicators that racism have been real. They have been the pillars upon which this society has been built. And when people are trying to take something away from you, it is an indicator of its value. If we are not reading the books, if we're not collecting the artifacts, if we're not telling the story that they are trying to take away from us, we are doing their work for them. We went to Washington, D.C., and we gathered with racial justice organizations and democracy organizations to say, you don't get to take away our history by attacking the Smithsonian. You don't get to tell us that we are not able to engage in a very real way with the material realities out of which we came. And I was inspired to do that, not only because the Black History Museum has been so foundational to so many of us in the work that we do, but I also had just come off of a trip with my good friend Brian Stevenson visiting his Freedom Museum in Alabama. The trip there was also deeply, deeply powerful and meaningful, but the thing that stuck with me the most was when he took me into a train that they had recovered, and this car had been used to transport enslaved people from the north to the south. When I think about the internal slave trade, I never think about the fact that people were loaded into these cars just like cattle, and inside the train there were shackles that were still there, and in the corner there were baby shackles for our babies. That was a moment in which I redoubled my effort to prevent them from taking away the artifacts of our history. If you don't have these items, these things that say that this is real, it was real, they are able to tell you that you're making it up. They're able to tell you that it wasn't significant, it wasn't as bad, as people say. They're able to tell you something like, enslavement was a full employment program. They're able to tell a lie and make your truth a lie. So when this administration went after museums, when it went after memory, I knew from that moment when I looked at those shackles that I could not let that stand. We cannot let that stand. Our history is our strength. It is the the antidote to being gaslit, and we are in a period of massive gaslighting. This is what we need to be able to fight back. We had a moment of racial reckoning in 2020. Some people say it lasted a summer. Maybe you can extend it to 6 to 10 months, where there was a conversation happening pretty much everywhere about the need to grapple with the history of racism, how it continues to shape life chances, both politically, materially, culturally, in the here and now. But that period was followed by 4 years of massive retrenchment, such that most institutions like the media, like corporate America, even politicians who made promises are now backing away from those promises or pretending as though they were never made. This, of course, is not new. This is what the rise and fall of Reconstruction was all about. The promise of full citizenship for those African Americans who had been framed by our own Supreme Court as enslavable people because of who they were. And this enslavability was thought to be a condition that would follow us forever. Well, Reconstruction was a break with that. Reconstruction was a repudiation of that. Reconstruction was a promise of a full citizenship, an embrace of the policies and the laws that were necessary to bring that about. The repudiation of that follows a playbook that we're seeing right now. So if we want to have a better understanding about the trajectory that we are on, the consequences of not interrupting it right now, then we need to study our history in order to be better prepared to deal with this current moment in which that history is reasserting itself in this time and in this space. I think that there is a groundswell of efforts to bring advocacy out of just sort of the beltway culture and community and into communities that are actually looking for ways to fight back. I've actually been excited about the fact that there seems to be a taste for a desire, demand for more robust counter mobilization on the ground in communities than we see on the part of many of our elected officials. There is the tendency to believe that once we've achieved a certain level of commitment or a certain level of inclusion, that we get to keep that. And we can simply focus on taking advantage of those opportunities, not talking about the conditions that brought these opportunities in place. I think, in fact, we probably over-relied on the belief that those days behind us will stay behind us, and weren't as vigilant as a society as we should have been against the clear indicators that things were moving backwards. So what do we learn from that? We learn that, maybe the arc of history bends towards justice, but it doesn't do it automatically. It does it because people grab it and they do the bending. And when they release it, when they take the foot off of the pedal, things go backwards. There is no stasis when it comes to injustice. Either we're moving forward to dismantle those conditions, or we're losing traction. It's one way or the other.